All right, what is everybody doing? All right, what is up, everyone? We are going live, as you can tell by the words are hard mess up right in the beginning. Cox Automotive just released some data. We are down month over month in wholesale data, 2.7%. So we are seeing dealers having a hard time actually selling these cars at auction. And what we're also seeing right now is that this data is probably not right, because we're seeing a lot of these cars roll through auction and they're not selling. There's more no sales, more if bids, more phone calls that I've seen being put on these cars going through auction than I've ever seen before. We are getting up to like 50% no sale rate going through these auctions. So dealers are still trying to hold on to these vehicles that they're running through auction, their trade-ins that they're getting in, to try to dump to small independent dealers like me. And they're not selling them because they're not willing to dump them for the prices that the bidders are willing to pay. And these bidders, they're drying up. These small independent dealers, I talk to a lot of them week in, week out, and they're hurting right now. A lot of them are saying that, you know what, we're dead. And when we're trying to sell all these vehicles and we have customers in our building trying to buy, they can't get them approved. There are a lot of banks that are tightening so much on their lending for the automotive space. And we're seeing that come through the system. And a lot of these dealers, they're going to get hurt. A lot of these ones that are on floor plans, the ones that are they're borrowing money to buy their inventory, and they have interest payments coming up, and they're not able to sell vehicles. And we're just dealing with that a lot across the used car market. And even on the new car side, we're seeing a lot more incentives come up. We're seeing a lot more day supply of these trucks, especially the Rams, the F-150s. They're just getting pounded to these dealers, and these dealers can't sell them. So a lot of these vehicles are going to start coming down in price. It's going to take a little bit because you see the movement first on the wholesale side. We're seeing it right now. Big drop month over month, 2.7%. Might not seem like a lot, but it's a lot across the board on the wholesale market, especially because it's not taking into effect all of these dealers that are no selling these cars. So this data that you're getting from Cox, it's only going to be the cars that actually sold at auction. It's not going to mark these cars and what the amounts that these dealers want, the cars that are no sold. So when these dealers start to actually sell these cars at auction, you're going to see a bigger whoosh down in the wholesale prices. And as you see wholesale prices going down more, then that's when you start seeing retail prices come down. But it's going to be trailing. It's going to be trailing by probably 2 months. And you're going to see that just happen throughout the course of this year. I'll tell you right now, the advice I'm giving on almost every video that I make: wait. These dealers are starting to get pinched, and you're going to get better prices at the end of this year than you are now. You're going to get better prices 3 months from now than you are right now. The longer that you can wait, the better the prices are going to be. And that's just my advice really to everyone that's in the car market right now. Please just wait to buy a car. Don't buy one from me. Don't buy one from any other dealer. The prices will get better. You just need to be patient. So today what we're going to do is going to take a lot of your questions and try to answer as many as we can. And my lovely wife is right next to me, and she is going to be reading through your questions and pulling some for me to answer. So baby.
We'll start with Anya. Anya was in the live stream earlier with Farzad.
Yeah, that was an awesome interview we did. I don't know a lot about EVs, but I actually learned something. So I felt like I was interviewing him and he was not interviewing me. So that was fun.
Yep. And the question is, on a trade-in, who actually pays the owed balance?
So whenever a trade-in goes in and you're underwater on your trade-in, even if you're not underwater on trade-in, but you still owe money, a lot of times the dealership will actually roll either the negative equity into your new vehicle that you're purchasing, or if you don't have negative equity into it, they'll actually pay off the vehicle. So they will get the title and they will be able to send it to auction and be able to make money on it that way. Or if they're going to keep it on their dealership, they'll pay it off, get the title, and then they'll sell it on their dealership. A lot of times they will sell it before they actually get the payoff done, before they even get the lien cleared. And we run into a lot of paperwork issues where a dealership will take a trade-in, a new car dealership will take a trade-in, and the lien's not satisfied. And if there's some kind of hang up, if there's the lien's in someone else's name, then there's been times before where the new car dealership actually has had to buy the car literally back from our dealership because they couldn't get the paperwork figured out. So that's a bbig frustration we have to deal with. But the dealership buying your trade in is responsible for paying the balance, and if they're either going to roll it into the car or they're going to pay it off and actually be able to sell it from that point.
All right. Still got a lot of comments coming through, so I'm just trying to keep caught
All right,
up here.
hit me with one.
Here we go. Been interested in a Mach 1, but dealers here in Minnesota are still at sticker or above. Offered one 1,500 below sticker, but he wouldn't take it. Should I hold out longer?
Yeah, I mean, if you shouldn't be paying anything above sticker at this point, there are so many dealers that aren't moving vehicles now. I mean, you're going to have some vehicles that are still high demand, and you're not going to be able to really buy them probably for MSRP or lower. But I mean, my advice is going to just stay the same. Wait, and you might have to travel a little bit, but you can probably find a dealer on that vehicle that you'll be able to buy it for MSRP. But you might have to travel a little bit. You might have to call around. You might have to look online to be able to find it.
All right. Next question. Do you ever see hybrids at the auction?
Yeah, I see them all the time. We actually bought one. We've had a couple of them recently. We don't like to buy them a lot because the ones that we deal with the cheaper end, the $5,000 and under, they usually have issues that we don't want to have to deal with as far as batteries and a special hybrid stuff that we don't want to have to fix. So we typically stay away from them. But if they have low enough miles, then sometimes we'll buy them. But yeah, we see them all the time at auctions, and the newer ones, the nicer ones, they bring more money than just the regular gas vehicles that aren't hybrids. But as they get older and as dealers worry about things that have to be fixed on them, batteries that have to be replaced on them, they actually go for really cheap money on the lower end. So it's just, we try not to buy them, but if they're really cheap and they have good miles, then we'll buy them every once in a while.
All right. Do you see a world where I can get a Prius without a market? I think adjustment.
Probably a market adjustment from a dealership. Yeah, there's a world. It's just going to be way down the line. I haven't even seen a brand. I think we saw actually one brand new Prius, and it had a $5,000 dealer adjustment. But other than that, I have been to probably 5 or 6 Toyota dealerships, and that's the only Prius that I have seen that's been brand new on a dealership. So you're probably not anytime in the near future going to be able to find one that you can actually pay MSRP for. So I would keep waiting, but if you really want a Prius, you're just going to have to pay up for it. So it's hard to find one. Those RAV4s, Venzas, I've actually seen quite a few of those. Sequoias you can't find, but Toyota has the worst production issues of all the manufacturers right now.
Okay, we are getting a bunch of them, so I am managing the best I can. I don't know if you know this one.
I don't really know the answer.
Can you read it so I can keep going through?
Yeah, does Porsche maintain its value? I would assume it depends on how many miles are on it, because as a lot of these luxury model cars, they require more maintenance and more expensive parts than a lot of these Hondas, these Toyotas that you're going to see. So the more miles are put on it, the more wear and tear that's put on a Porsche, the more it's going to cost the next owner. So I would assume that they would lose their value considerably as they get beat in a little bit more. But I would think that the ones that are lower mileage, they're going to be more desirable. So they probably hold up their values very well. I'm seeing in the comments, so like a 911 will retain their value. I would agree with that, as long as there's not a lot of miles put on the vehicle and not a lot of wear and tear that's been put on it. Because the type of person that's going to buy a Porsche, they're going to want it to be nice. They're not going to want one that's really just beat to crap. All right, next question.
Do you tend to stay away from turbo engines?
No, I'll buy them. I buy a lot of Volvos that have the turbos. Actually, my wife had a S80 with the turbo. We like that. It really depends on the car. There's like Mazda CX, was a CX-9. It's either CX-9 or CX-5 that had the turbo motor in it. I know that those turbos were garbage. So it really just depends on the car with anything as far as these specific turbos go. Some of them are absolutely fine and don't have any issues that you really have to deal with. And some of them are just an absolute nightmare. So it really just depends on the car.
Here's a different one. I don't think we get a lot of these. What do you think of buying classic cars as investments?
I know there's a lot of guys out there that swear about that, but I think really the classic cars are going to go the way of like the market when there's a lot of speculation out in the market. I know like Graham Stephan talks about this a lot, how his Ford was a big time investment for him and it's actually made him a lot of money. But really, I think the classic cars are going to go the way of the speculation market, just any kind of asset that people just have extra money to spend on. So you're going to, over time, they're going to make money. I don't know if they'll beat the market over time, but I would suspect that it's a little bit riskier than just throwing money into an index fund. I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take this as any kind of financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. But I would suspect that the market, just your average index fund, would probably beat out a classic car. That would be my assumption.
I'll add to that. Brandon is not a car guy. He will say that occasionally.
Yeah, I'm not a car guy. I am a businessman. I know the car market. That's my expertise. But if you want to talk to me about a sports car or whatever, I don't care. I don't care. I mean, I can appreciate a beautiful machine and the engineering that goes into it. But at the end of the day, it's a machine to me. And it doesn't matter really how much money I have in the future. I'm probably not going to have a Lambo. I'm going to be fine with a nice SUV. So.
Yeah, and but if you're somebody that enjoys them and you're in a good place financially for it, then I don't think that it's a bad thing. But I don't think it's probably
have nice things. I want you to absolutely have nice things. I don't think it's a bad thing to buy a nice sports car or whatever. I just don't want you to go in debt for it. That's the thing. Zach, what's up, buddy?
Good to see you here, Zach.
Yep.
All right, let's see here. Here's one that's a little bit easier because there's not a solid answer. What is the average cost to run a car through the auction, and is that for each time it's run through?
So there's really different amounts. So if you run a car through an auction at specific auctions, there are going to be different fees depending on what you're doing and how much your car is going to bring. But let's start with a lot of people ask me about no sales. So when a car runs through the auction and it is no sold, is there a fee associated with that? Yes and no. So at some auctions, there are fees associated with that. I've seen anywhere between $50 and $100 for a no sale fee. And it's also going to depend on the seller. So if there's a seller that brings an auction a ton of cars, if they bring them 50 cars a week and they don't sell some of their cars, they're not getting a no sell fee tacked on to them. The auction's not going to do that. They're going to be as buddy with that dealer as possible because they want them to bring their cars. But somebody like me, if I'm only going to bring 2 or 3 cars every once in a while to an auction and I don't sell them, yeah, I'm going to get hit with that fee. So when you go in and you buy a car at auction, it just depends on the amount that the car is. So typically I can just give you some round numbers. Like on a $2,000 car that I will buy at auction, it's roughly like $200 all the way up to like $375 at some auctions that I have to pay for that particular vehicle for a buyer's fee. And then the sellers are going to have fees on top of that too. So the auction's getting paid by both buyer and seller. Now I've been on the other side and the seller fees are a lot less. So on that same $2,000 car, I think that at the small auction that you see a lot of times on my channel, I sell most of my cars through there whenever we're actually dumping some cars at auction. And I want to say it was like $80, maybe $120, depending on the price of the car. It's not much. It's way less than what your buyer fee will be because they want to incentivize sellers. They still want to make money off them, but they need sellers. They need cars there to be able to make the auction run to make money. So they're definitely more seller friendly when you're talking about the auction. So they'll have less fees than the buyers will.
And we have a follow-up to the car investment question. What about a Ford Taurus?
Ford
wagon?
Taurus wagon will only go up in value. So if you are a car collector, buy a 1998 Ford
yeah.
Taurus station wagon, the ones with the pop-up seats in the back, and just sit on your investment forever.
Yep.
You'll have to sit in it because it's not going to move.
Get real comfortable.
Yeah, get real comfortable.
And for those that don't know, Zach Shefska is the famous Zach from Car Edge.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not that famous.
We have about 15 questions here in less than 15 minutes, so we're going to get moving. All right, here's one we've gotten from a couple of people. Do you think Toyota's production slowdown is real or market manipulation?
So I don't think.
No pressure.
Yeah, let me word my words.
Yeah,
delicately word my words.
Start.
Is that good? So from what I've been reading and what I have been reading even more, that there is not really a production issue elsewhere in the world, and there's only an production issue here in the United States. So that is the answer that I'm going to say, and I'm not going to say whether it's manipulation or not. I don't want to ever put that word onto a company. I just know that some things don't seem quite right, and that's the answer that you're going to get for that question.
Well done. Look at those words. All right. Here's another easy one. Do you sell cars to out-of-state customers?
Yes, we do. So we're close to South Carolina. We're in North Carolina, but we're close to the South Carolina border. So we get a lot of customers that actually drive up from South Carolina to come buy cars. Actually, we've had customers come from New York. We've had customers come from Michigan. We've had customers come from Virginia to come buy our cars. But typically what will happen is we'll have people come out of South Carolina to come buy our cars. And what happens whenever we sell a car to someone in South Carolina, we're actually not registering. We're register all of our cars for North Carolina buyers to our state DMV. But we can't do that because we're a North Carolina dealer for South Carolina. So what we do is we package all the paperwork together in a nice little bundle, the title, any transfer paperwork, and then we give them a 30-day tag. We give them all the paperwork and say, okay, you have to register it. So typically when we sell a car to a North Carolina resident, say we're selling it for $2,500, we'll get the $2,500 from them. That's what comes to us as a dealership. And we don't have a doc fee. You won't have any fees associated with that, but you'll have your tax and your registration fee to pay to North Carolina. And on a $2,500 car, I don't even know what that is. It's like $130 or something like that. Right yeah, somewhere around there. They'll have to pay. So they'll pay $26.35 or whatever it is to us. We'll take that $135 and take it to the state of North Carolina, and we'll register that car for the customer and then give them a tag after we get it. So if we're selling it out of state, say to someone like from South Carolina, we'll give them all the paperwork that we typically take to the state of North Carolina, and they'll take it to their DMV in South Carolina, but we will only get the $2,500. So they'll only pay $2,500 to us at that point. No extra stuff because they'll have to go and pay that to their DMV in their state. So, yes, we do.
Okay. And we've had several people comment on this question about delivery. We do not deliver any vehicles at all.
We don't deliver. So the only company that I really know that has tried really that method and not been very successful with that is Carvana. And you know how that company is going right now.
Yep. All right. I had a question and it was so good and I just lost it. I'm so close. Wow. I'm not good at this.
Nope.
Okay. We're going to do an easy one for me. We have a motor feed.
Why am I so awesome? So I think my wife should actually, no, she shouldn't answer this question.
No, I think that was about me.
No, it's not. So this is Matt from Motor Feed. If you haven't, check out his channel. It's great. I had the pleasure to actually talk to him a couple of days ago. We chatted about this YouTube stuff and car market stuff in general, but he does a lot of videos similar to what we do when we go to dealerships, and he does them better than we do. He is much better at editing videos and the sound quality stuff than I am. So I would actually counter his statement with saying, why is he so awesome? And I would like my videos to look like his do. So hopefully I can pick his brain more in the future to be able to get to that point. But let's do it.
Why are you so awesome at editing? That's what I would like to ask Motor Feed.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the question I lost. Is it a good time to sell my 2020 Hellcat Daytona RN and wait on to purchase another Charger in a few months or a few years from now?
I would sell right now. Now is still a good time to sell a car because prices are still high. And I mean, what I think that car values are going down. So if you think that car prices are going down in the next 6 months, then I would sell. If you think they're going to stay the same or go up, then I wouldn't sell. So it just depends on what you think car prices are going to do. But in my opinion, I would sell now. I would buy something very cheap just to drive around some beater or whatever. If you have an extra car, just drive the extra car and then wait at least 6 months to buy something else. That would be my my answer for that.
All right. We may not have the exact answer for this, but you can estimate it. What's the highest mileage Toyota model you've had on your lot
Oh
and the year?
man! So the donation car that we bought, we donated some money to Safe Harbor. It's a battered women's shelter kind of thing. A couple weeks ago, and they had a car that was donated to them, and basically it ran through the auction, and we bid it off just as high as we could. But we didn't really want the car, but it's had 274,000 miles. And we got it back, and actually the car was in good shape. It was a good car. We paid $4,100 for it. It's not what the car was worth. We did that to try to give them extra money. So we actually ended up selling the car, I think, for $1,500.
Yeah,
It was. So I mean, we lost a lot of money, but we donated the money to Safe Harbor or whatever. But
it was a great loss there.
yeah. So that's probably close to one of the highest mileage. I'm not sure if we've had a 300,000 mile car before. We've probably been pretty close, but in recent memory, 274 is. But it's not a car that we would have bought before that if it wasn't a donation.
Can you see truck prices dropping 30% in the future?
Yeah. So like Rams already dropped 20% with incentives and dealer markdowns and everything like that, and these dealers wanting to push them out. So I can absolutely see that. Ford, I can see it easily with Ford because Ford trucks are everywhere. They're having the 2024s about to come out. These dealers got to get rid of trucks. I don't know if you would necessarily call that a crash if it drops 30% because of how high they went up. But I can absolutely see. I think 20% is easy. 30% is probably where we'll land, though.
All right. Anya asked, what is the nitrogen you mentioned that you don't like in videos?
Nitrogen is just air that they put in tires, and they're charging you for it. So
a little fancy.
It's fancy air. So what a lot of these dealerships do is they've got this kind of air that's supposed to actually, maybe you look this up, it's supposed to give you better gas mileage.
No, it's it better regulates the tire pressure. So depending on different conditions, whether it's turns or speed or temperature or whatever's going on, it just better regulates it so you have more consistent.
You're not going to know it. You're not going to notice the difference between nitrogen air tires and regular nitrogen air tires because most of the air that we breathe is nitrogen to begin with.
Nitrogen is very useful in NASCAR and in airplanes
and in breathing.
Oh, and in breathing.
Yeah. So you won't notice the difference, but dealerships want to put this fancy air in there and then charge you. We've seen, I think it was $549 at one dealership. They were charging for it. Some dealerships are crazy, and nitrogen, I see it. Yeah. Nitrogen is a scam. So
ever consider selling higher price vehicles, maybe up to 7,000 to 10,000?
We've considered it. It's easier to do, but it doesn't really help the people that we're trying to help to be in that mode of cars, that level of cars. Like last year, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, when prices were just absolutely insane, and we had to actually step up what we were buying to be able to move enough volume to really sell enough cars during tax time. And we had this Hummer, and I think we had like almost $6,000 for it when it was said and done, and we had it, and we ended up selling it, I think, for like $700 or $7,500. I think we started out at 8,000 because when you spend more money on a car, you've got to try to sell it for more because you take on more risk. But I hated every second we had that Hummer on our lot, and that was the last car probably over $7,000 that we've had on our lot. And as long as the market doesn't do something crazy like it did the last 2 years, I'll never have something over probably $5,500, $6,000 on our lot. It just makes me feel icky, especially when we have repeat customers, lots of referrals, and they come to our dealership and they're like, this was my spot for $2,000, $2,500 cars. I needed one, and that's what I need to have. And a year ago, a year and a half ago, we couldn't provide them that service, and it made me hate what we were doing. And I really like that we're getting back to that now because prices are coming down. It makes me feel better about the customers that we're able to serve, being able to put them in $2,000, $2,500 cars. But it was a bad time last year, and I really disliked what we were doing, but we were forced to do that because there weren't any cars, and there weren't any definitely not any cheap cars out there for us to buy.
This is probably my favorite question so far. Is $150,000 reasonable for a 4Runner?
So I hope you mistyped that, but that is very funny. No, it's not.
Correct.
Yeah, we've been seeing them like around 55,000 new. And even like a couple years old, it's still around that $55,000. It's amazing how dealers can still charge new prices for 2-year-old used vehicles.
All right. Here's one I've never heard. Is the color blue still bad for resale? Do you know that?
I have not actually heard this, and I've been doing it for 11, 12 years. So I've never heard that to be a thing. I know that red is the best color that you want to buy a vehicle because there's actually when you were going through putting in like your value for your vehicle or whatever, you can hit the color red, and a lot of times it'll make it jump up like $300, $400, $500. So red's the color that you want, but I don't know about the actual blue making it bad for resale value.
Do you think the overall used car price has been coming down? I mean, the interest and insurance rates are still very high, at least in Canada, for new owners.
Do you think the overall used car prices have been coming down? I think they're not there yet. I think they've been coming down a little bit, but not anything to where really the public has been able to see it yet. The wholesale prices have to come down first, and we just saw this Cox Automotive data month over month, down 2.7%. That's not a small percentage for the whole market as far as the wholesale prices to go. So we need another probably 7-8% before you start actually seeing it filter through into the really the used car market. You see these dealers come down, and as the wholesale prices come down, as dealers buy new inventory, they're forced to lower their prices on the retail side because they're competing with these other dealerships that are getting new cars in, and everybody buys and searches for prices online. So it's easy to compare different dealerships. And as one dealership stops selling vehicles because they're priced too high, they're forced to lower their prices. Next question.
All right. Do other dealers hate you for your transparency at auction or in your group?
No. So I've actually had a lot of dealers come up to me at these auctions and say they really appreciate what they do. A lot of dealers are trying to do the right things. And there's quite a few of us dealers that are out there that are doing the wrong things, and they do them a lot. And that's what gives dealers such bad names. But for the most part, there's a lot of dealers that watch what we do, and they really like to see what the market's doing. I've had dealers come up to me and say, "Well, I pay attention to your videos because I want to know what the market's doing." And going out there and looking at all aspects of it. So a lot of dealers really like what we're doing. I haven't had any negative encounters with any dealers. So I mean, if you have a difference of opinion than what I have, and you see me at these auctions, come up and talk to me about it, because I would love to hear it. I mean, I love to hear different perspectives, but I will say that I'm definitely more consumer leaning on my channel than I am dealer, because dealers know what they're doing and they know what they're getting into. Consumers do not, and I want to help the consumer. And I think that maybe there's some dealers out there that don't care for that, but no, most dealers they like what I'm doing, and they think it's a good thing.
All right, we are right at our time.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move over to a members only. Nice. We got another member. We're going to move over to a members only live stream. And if you're not a member, go to our channel page and hit join. And last week we did a members only live chat and we were able to get to every single one of the questions. So if you want a question that you asked in this answered, then come over to the members only live chat and we'll definitely get it answered for you. So thanks guys. And we appreciate you coming and joining us while we are talking about the car market. And I am talking a lot now, and let's end the
Great.
broadcast.
Okay.